Let's now bring in Texas Congressman Randy Weber. Well, Congressman, we want to hear what you think of this announcement by Caroline Leavitt. Certainly a blow to the administration, but you know, as Steve Bannon says, you know, the old honey badger, next man up. So what do you say?
Well, exactly. I mean, I've been paying attention to Republican Party politics since 1983 when Reagan ran for re-election, and I decided to get involved. I've never seen anybody as eloquent, as committed and dedicated and right on and spoken, but strong spoken, if I can use that word. She's been one of the absolute best. We wish her the best.
Yeah, you know what I think's really interesting about her style is that instead of going to the podium and just saying a talking point, she would listen to the reporters in the gallery and then respond to them, which was a unique skill.
Yeah, no kidding. And not only that, Allison, but she was always, in my opinion, of course, what can I say? She was spot on all the time. She knew the background, she knew her stuff. She was quiet, at least quiet spoken, softly spoken, but right on target every time. I've, quite frankly, never seen one like her.
And she knew this president so well, and that to me was crucial, because a lot of press secretaries get up there and say, well, I haven't spoken to the president about this. I'll get back to you. She would say, you know what? I'm sure this is what he would say. And she would just say it. I mean, that was the best part of her, I thought. But anyhow, all right, we got to move on. Congressman, let's talk about what's going to go on when you guys get back. Here's a Hill headline. It says the GOP worries the time is running out on Trump's agenda with Congress. I wonder if you agree with the Hill. The Senate has departed for recess. You got big fights for September, midterms closing in. Where are we? What's the priority list when you get back?
Well, look, it's 82 days. We're 82 days from Election Day. And we've got a saying, the Republicans in the House do. We say that the Democrats are the opposition, but the Senate is the enemy, because it seems like everything we send over there, Chuck Schumer and company, is intent on knocking it down. They've got what I call Trump derangement syndrome. They hate President Trump. They hate the fact that he's been elected 2 times. They don't want him or the Republicans to get any kind of win. I hope the American people are paying attention. 82 days till Election Day. We'll see what the American people do.
Well, let me just follow up on that real quick, if I could, Terrence. I'm sorry, but MAGA is not happy. Yeah, MAGA is not happy with Thune. Let's not, put that under the radar here. I mean, they want him to do more, especially on the Save America Act.
Well, we voted so many times for Save America Act, more times than I can count. We sent it over a standalone bill, a budget package, whatever was moving. We keep sending it over there. Only this is common sense, but the problem, I like to say, the problem with common sense is it's a misnomer, David, because common sense ain't really all that common. We keep saying that only Americans should be able to vote in American elections. And I don't get where the crazy left comes up with this idea. We've heard them say time and time again, oh, listen, y'all are saying that people have to have an ID to vote. That's ridiculous. Well, look, you have to have an ID to go into schools. You want to go see your kids. You have to have an ID to drive. You have to have an ID to do a whole bunch of things. Why is it so ridiculous that we want to protect one of the most sacred rights Americans have? I don't get the Democrats.
Congressman, I'm going to use a term that I first heard when I worked in Longview, Texas. What in tarnation is happening there in Texas? Want to bring your attention to this Fox 4 headline, which reads, McKinney City leaders vote 7-0 to approve controversial mosque development. An earlier proposal was denied 2 years ago. But again, I get back to what in tarnation? What is going on down there?
Well, that's Yosemite Sam, by the way, that used that phrase, the cartoon. Yosemite Sam. Now, I'm showing my age, Allison.
Love it.
But at any rate, I don't get it. Y'all probably know I was in the Texas House for 4 years before I got demoted to Congress. And my first term, I went up to Byron Cook, who was the chairman of the committee, and I said, back then in 2009, I said, look, I'd like to file a bill that says no court in the state of Texas can use Sharia law in its proceedings. And the chairman told me, he said, oh, Randy, that's not a big deal. There's no need. You don't need to do that. Why shake that, make that a problem. Well, that was 2009. Now here we are, how many years later? And you're seeing this where you're going to see Sharia law when they want to. Y'all know this. Women have no rights. There's all kinds of things that they do, and yet you've got people like the city council. They're voting for that. I don't get it.
Yeah, and also in Dallas, I think that they're going to spend like, I think $300,000 to put foot washing stations in the airport. I'm hearing that overnight. That's absurd.
Yeah. Well, we're a country that was built on Judeo-Christian values. I'm sorry, if you don't like history, get over it. But that's the true fact, right? What I like to call it
Amen.
true fact.
Yeah,
And
true.
if you don't like
Yeah.
it, get over it. And people ought to be paying attention. I hope they're paying attention. City council, for example, that they're not a big deal. There's no need. There's, you don't need to do that. Why shake that, make that a problem? Well, that was 2009. Now here we are, how many years later? And you're seeing this where you're going to see Sharia law when they want to. Y'all know this. Women have no rights. There's all kinds of things that they do, and yet you've got people like the city council. They're voting for that. I don't get it.
Yeah, and also in Dallas, I think that they're going to spend like, I think $300,000 to put foot washing stations in the airport. I'm hearing that overnight. That's absurd.
Yeah. Well, we're a country that was built on Judeo-Christian values. I'm sorry, if you don't like history, get over it. But that's the true fact, right? What I like to call it
Amen.
true fact.
Yeah,
And
true.
if you don't like it,
Yeah.
get over it. And people ought to be paying attention. I hope they're paying attention. City council, for example, and that they people make Texans for sure make their voice heard.
Congressman
And if you come
Randy
here,
Weber.
assimilate.
Yes. Thank you so much for being here this morning, dropping a few truth bombs.
Thank you, Allison. Appreciate what
Thanks,
y'all are doing.
Congressman.
Have a good one.